I kid you not, I used to be driving home from work, working at a healthcare center, wondering what would happen if I let go of the steering wheel while driving on the 95. I'm not even joking. Um, for those of you who may not know me, my name is Golfran. I'm a family medicine PA, and I hate America's healthcare system. Overall, I never intended to get into healthcare because of my disdain for it. But I want to take the time to explain to you why then did I do that and what it is I'm trying to accomplish to change things, not only for myself, but for my patients. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. So I was trained in the Army through the Inter Service Physician Assistant Program. I spent 13 years in the military. 12 of those were active duty. One was National Guard status. I joined when I was 18. And I was medically retired shortly after becoming a PA. So before I was a PA, I was in PSYOP, and then before that, I was in the infantry. Before that, I was in Intel. So I did a lot of different things in my time in the military. I ultimately deployed twice overseas, and spent several months away from family on TDY and things like that. Speaking of family, I'm married to my wife of 14 years, and I have four wonderful children here in Fayetteville. Okay, so what I was saying is I despise America's healthcare system. So why did I become a PA? Well, frankly, I felt called to medicine by God himself, right? So if you don't know, I'm a devout Christian. And so I believe that the Lord called me to that. And in fact, while my peers were celebrating the opportunity to get a raise and get promoted, I was frustrated. I didn't want to do this because I don't want to participate in America's healthcare. I don't believe in what our healthcare system is doing. I do think that it's a broken system, and it is causing more harm than good to clinicians and patients alike. But here we are. That's what I was called to do. And so shortly after graduating the program, I was surprised to discover that I was getting med boarded. And so here I am. I got out and I got a job at a health center. Now, before I got that job, I had already been accepted to on board at the local emergency room. And I can tell you right now that the pay that the emergency department was offering was substantially more, almost twice as much as what this health center was offering me. But the health center was offering me an opportunity to really serve in medicine. I was super excited because they told me that what I would be doing would be offering services to the underserved, to those who do not have insurance, to those who don't typically have access to care. And this was a federally qualified health center, which is designed to be like a safety net for the community. And so I was literally on the phone with the recruiter getting emotional at the prospect that I would get to do something good in medicine through healthcare. Now, being a disabled vet, I was going to get disability, so I wasn't worried so much about money as much as I was worried about actually being of service in healthcare. Okay, well, fast forward several months, and now I am driving home contemplating what would happen if I let go of the steering wheel. In fact, I remember there being a storm one day and wondering, man, if the storm is intense enough, maybe it wouldn't even be my fault if something tragic happened while I'm on the road, because I was miserable, right? Why was I miserable? Well, see, when it got started, I was able to spend time with these very sick patients who had a lot of needs and to help them and counsel them. And it was wonderful. It was life-giving. It was like a dream come true. I couldn't believe it, right? But as soon as I was credentialed with the insurance companies, meaning that the insurance mafia had now approved my presence in the clinic and they would pay for the services I was providing these patients, the practice immediately started trying to load up my panel. Now, the goal was for me to see 20 to 25 patients a day. Sometimes I would hit that goal. Sometimes I wouldn't if patients, canceled appointments or they no-showed, okay? And so now I'm still seeing very sick patients with a lot of needs, but now I have to see them in a condensed amount of time. And oh, by the way, after working from 8 to 5 seeing these patients, I now have to spend at least 1 to 2 hours charting so that the center could then bill insurance and get paid. It's great. You got to get paid, right? You got to keep the lights on. The thing is when you chart for the sake of insurance, there's some details in there that can become very cumbersome and make it take time. So now I'm working 10 to 11-hour days, showing leaving home early, coming home late. After having been in the Army for 13 years, after having missed some of the most important moments of my children's lives, I did not have an appetite for that. And then knowing that I wasn't actually serving my patients, right? The 5 to 10 minutes that I was allotted for them to basically make sure that they're taking their meds, to refill the prescriptions, to order some labs or send them a referral. That's not real medicine. And I knew that. And that was killing me, right? Because my patients are hoping that I'm going to serve them when in fact what I'm fundamentally doing is just cranking out patients and serving the machine. So needless to say, I was facing the decision of whether or not I'm going to stay in medicine. And now I'm frustrated with God, like, why did you have me do this? Thankfully, I had heard about direct primary care. Now, briefly, for those of you who don't know what that is, direct primary care is where patients pay a once-a-month membership fee in exchange for comprehensive primary care services. No insurance whatsoever for anything related to the practice itself. So at TrueCare DPC, patients pay a once-a-month membership fee. In exchange, they get direct access to me or the other provider on staff via cell phone, via email. unlimited visits, 30 to 50 minutes at a time. Routine labs are included 3 times a year, no additional cost, and 1,000 generic medications shipped directly to your door, again, at no additional cost to you. You just pay the once a month fee. That is it, okay? And so why this is so wonderful is because we now no longer have to chart for insurance companies. We don't have to file claims with insurance companies or ask permission to insurance companies to do certain things for treatment. Okay, when I got started, the practice immediately became, in my opinion, successful. I enrolled my first patient on January 23rd of last year. Within 3 months, I was covering the cost of running the practice. And then by the end of the year, I had moved from a small 8x8 space that my dad, a friend, and I built over the weekend to a 3,000 square foot facility. I did not pay myself anything that first year. I worked part-time the entire time to pay the bills at home, right? And to help offset some of the costs from the business. Okay, this year is the first year that I'm paying myself. Now, that's actually kind of neat because in small business, that's not always the case, right? $2,000. $2,000 a month is what I am paying myself to run this practice. How's that possible? Well, first of all, keep in mind, like I said, I get VA disability, but also my wife, she is a real estate agent and she does property management. So she's built up her portfolio. We also have these other streams of income to support us. My goal was to be able to create a practice where I could serve my community and still be present with my family. That's why you've seen me post things about the flexibility that this offers and how wonderful it is for me as a clinician. And a big part of that is because I watched my oldest grow from a phone screen while I was deployed overseas. And my second, I also missed out on some of important things because I deployed while he was growing. Thankfully, I got to spend more time with my 2 younger ones. But the point is I want to be present as a father, okay? Right. So thankfully, we built this thing, okay? And now I have flexibility and I'm paying the bills and I keep the light on and I pay myself $2,000 a month. Okay. But then what I found is that my patients at TrueCare DPC, even patients with insurance, are still running into obstacles, okay? They're still having issues with medications getting covered by their insurance company. That's the reason why I contracted with a pharmacy who will ship it directly to their house as long as it's part of their list, and I pay that fee. My practice pays that fee. This month we paid almost $700 so that all of our members would be able to have access to that medication. And then I found that insurance companies were playing stupid games when it came to covering labs. So many of my patients have insurance, but when they go to run it, the insurance will charge them a huge copay that is more than what I would pay cash. Or they would not cover certain aspects of it, and then the patient still gets hit with a bill. All right, that is the reason why we started covering routine labs. This month, we're paying close to over $1,000 in labs for our patients. Okay, and then I found that they're still having issues getting imaging covered, where they're being directed by the insurance mafia to where they can go to get their imaging done. That causes unnecessary delays, and then there's still copays getting hit that are still more expensive than if it was cash price. And so that's where I got the idea that if I could build this practice big enough, then I could cover imaging. Okay, here's the thing. I hate America's healthcare system. Ultimately, I blame it on the insurance mafia. And so once I built this practice where I could create a sustainable life for myself and for my family, I was now clear to see there continues to be this need exacerbated by the insurance mafia. How can I figure out how to get them out of the equation? And so that is now my goal for TrueCare DPC. I'm not going to tell you that was always the goal. Okay, the original goal was for my sanity, practice medicine in a way that I wouldn't contemplate killing myself while I'm driving home from work. That has been accomplished. But now looking at my patients' needs, looking at the community needs, and I know that I have the opportunity to create this service for the community. That is now the new goal, to create primary care where we do not need to ask the insurance company for permission. So what does that look like? At the present time, I am charging $99 a month for adults and $25 for kids for direct access to your provider, extended visits, routine labs, and medication. I have the goal of getting 100 more members so that we can then include imaging. But I have decided that may have to wait. That in the meantime, what I want to do to make healthcare more accessible is to lower the price of the membership. So if you're a current member watching this and you paid the full value up until now, starting next month, it's going to be $85 a month for adults. The children's price remains at $25, but we're going to drop it down by about $15 or $14 because it's $99.85. Okay. For you who are watching this for the first time, if you are not an established member here at TrueCare DPC, $85 now for adults, $25 for kids. And the idea here is to make primary care as accessible as possible. The goal remains the same, that as we build the panel, we're going to be able to provide imaging for our patients, right? Where the imaging centers will bill us and we will pay that bill. Initially, I hope to roll that out slowly, where we'll cover x-rays, we'll cover ultrasounds, and we'll cover routine screening mammograms. Eventually, not only will I cover routine labs, my hope is to be able to cover all labs for the patients, okay? The other thing that I'm trying to do is I'm actively trying to find other clinicians who share my vision and my heart for medicine and for their families. And so if you know anybody, if you're a clinician, if you're a PA, nurse practitioner who's watching this, or if you're a physician and you want to partner with me, I would love to work with you to be able to make this a reality. If you know somebody who is looking for a job and is willing to work with me to try to make this happen, I would love that. Okay, but the long-term goal is to be able to take on as many patients as possible without sacrificing access. Okay, because that's the same problem with the insurance, with using insurance, is that you can't get seen. So trying to find that delicate balance, right, of being able to take on as many patients as possible without sacrificing access, and still being able to provide more and more and more services to the community, covering the cost of imaging, covering the cost of labs, covering the cost of medications. Okay. Thank you so much for taking the time to have watched this. I welcome you to have if you have any questions at all, please feel free to comment below or share them with me directly. You can contact the central line for the practice at 910-758-1769. Either myself or our clinic manager, our clinic director, Jasmine, will respond to you. The idea here is that you share this with as many people as possible so that they understand that TrueCare DPC is not just another business. Thankfully, I'm good. I don't even like the truth is that I could stop this now and go find some other work somewhere else, but I hate what's going on out there. And so the idea here is that together as a community, our members help us to create something that can really serve Fayetteville and the surrounding areas. That's the truth. Okay. So God bless you guys. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. I ask you to please share this to help me reach as many people in the area to help them understand what it is we're trying to do. God bless you. Thank you so much and enjoy your day.